we're up. I guess we're up.
Welcome to our Patreon, first ever for Power Rangers Cosmic Protectors. We're not on Patreon, actually. This is a Patreon exclusive.
But it's on YouTube. It's unlisted.
Are you on right? Are we live right now?
Live?
I'm not a manager on it, so.
You.
It looks like we're up. I see us over on the laptop in the corner here. So these random conversations are happening live.
Anyway, we're here for the AMA for all of you patrons out there. Well, right now it's only one of you guys.
One person.
But we are here to answer all your questions. So any questions you want to field at us, bring them. If not, we're just going to talk about the project and how it came about and stuff like that. So first and foremost, I want to introduce everybody on this esteemed panel with me. You might know Josh from the sci-fi shows at Hashtag Show, but he's also the director, the first director, at least for the pilot of Power Rangers Cosmic Protectors, and JD's the co-creator with me. He's here, to my right, to your left. First and foremost, I can do like I want to do the Q&A to you guys then. How about that? Any story questions you can field back to me. So here's how we're going to do this. You guys can chime in right now, Common Writer Blue01. You can chime in. And anybody else that shows up, feel free to ask any questions. So first and foremost, I want to ask JD.
Yes.
How did all of the... I really should answer. Why don't you do the Q&A for us, and then we'll do it for you.
Okay.
Go.
I have
That
a
works.
question.
All right, Larry Newbill's in here, too.
All right, cool. We got two people.
All right. Go ahead. You go ask us.
We go. Well, wait.
Wait, what's your
Jezza,
question, Jezzer?
Will there be gruesome deaths in the series?
There will be death in the series. I don't know how gruesome we're going to make it because we want to keep it in line with Power Rangers to make it friendly to all, for everyone of all ages, but we are not going to dumb down the material. It's going to be something that I think is smart for everybody of all ages.
So Power Rangers has never really had gore in it, right? Like you've never really seen blood or like
Sentai,
anything like that, right?
Sentai has blood in it,
Yeah, Sentai has.
but we've never really seen like a gory version of Power Rangers before. And I don't think we will here either. I think the closest we've gotten is the comics.
I think sometimes
Studios?
like some of like when they crack the helmets and stuff, they might have a little piece of blood, but Disney might have cut those out too.
Yeah, I don't
when they
remember.
got
I mean,
'em.
I mean, you know, I haven't really watched a whole lot of Power Rangers, but in any episodes that I've seen, I don't remember seeing any blood anywhere.
Yeah, no,
Like
it's
I don't
really
remember,
rare if it happens.
I don't even really remember seeing like any like bruising or anything. Mostly it's just like people are dirty.
Yeah.
The reason why you guys, some people can't see this stream though is because this is only for our Patreon subscribers. They're the only ones that have a link to this. So any questions you guys have in the chat, let us know. Jezzer, if you have any more questions. Josh, if you have more questions for us, and we'll have questions for you as well. But yeah, so question to JD: how did we start this crazy process?
That was going to be my question.
Oh, sorry, I
You
didn't
stole my question.
Sorry, your question. Go ahead.
All right, JD, how did you guys come up with this? I'm not
think
gonna ask
we-
better.
It started off as a comedy.
Yeah, it definitely started off as a comedy. We kind of wanted to do something.
We were gonna do a parody.
Yeah, we were gonna do like a.
Answering his question, he's gonna answer it.
Yeah, we were planning on doing a parody, and like everybody's doing like these serious parodies, obviously with, like Adi Shankar and all that stuff, like really gritty. And we were just like, hey, we should do the opposite. We should make it like very slapstick and all this stuff. So that was like the first idea of what we were gonna do. And then we just like sat down. We like at a diner. I think we were at Denny's, and we just like we're talking it up.
No,
We're, like,
no, because then it was going to be an RPG because Hyperforce had just come out.
Yeah,
or it was
yeah.
being pitched. It hadn't come out quite yet, but I knew it was coming out, and I told him the idea, and then actually told you the idea.
Yeah.
And-
Well, when you told me the idea, you had been pitching it as a role playing game.
Right, it's like
Yeah.
D&D,
Yeah.
which is originally what it was going to be. It was going to be the Q Ranger season as a role-playing game with, at the time, the current cast of Hashtag Show. We were going to do it like week to week. And then we started, I think we did Westworld as like a test run.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we started building out the world for Power Rangers. And then we realized something with Hyperforce is that even though things can happen in Hyperforce, there were no real consequences because
Yeah.
the story was always going to be the same.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's kind of like what I wanted to do too. But Josh here, who played a lot of D&D in college or whatever, was like, you can't really do that in D&D. And then I was
Well,
like,
yeah, because you kept wanting to. You were asking about directing the story and just like making things happen, which with D&D you can do. Like you definitely have a beginning point and an end point, but you can't control the way things happen, which is more like where your questions were heading. Where, well, how do we make this person do this, or how do we make this person do that? Where it's really up to them.
yep. So JD and I went to Denny's, and we were trying to crack what we were going to do. So JD actually showed me a Star Wars comic that he was watching, and I said watching. It's on YouTube. It was kind of like they took the actual Star Wars comic
Yeah.
and animated. I'm like,
No, they voiced it over, and then they kind of like, it was like a motion comic. They like moved the panels around, things like that. They had sound effects and all that. So I thought like that would be a good way to do it,
It reminded
instead
me
of a
kind
game.
of was it Marvel Knights?
Yeah,
like they
yeah.
did like the Iron Man Extremis and that one Black Panther comic.
Yeah.
But the characters were actually animated a little bit more
Yeah.
in there
Yeah.
than what we're doing.
yeah. So that happened. So then we had to crack the story because I knew at that point it was going in more serious tone, and we had a lot of cast members at the time. So we decided to do Q Ranger, which, as you guys know, has 12 Rangers. And our version has 13. You'll get to know each and every one of them very shortly. But I wanted to do Q Ranger. So the real question, and by the way, Toku Kid, who's also helping with the animation, he's here. Daniel, who's voicing the Purple Ranger, Daniel's here. And Jezer is here as well. So if they have questions, they can chime in as well. But what happened was JD and I were trying to figure out what the story was. And the way that we cracked it, I literally like said it as a joke. Like, hey, what if we did this? And then you were like, oh shit, like, we think this could work.
Yeah.
Then we combined
I
it
was
with like a little bit of like the Green Lantern, and we were like, oh, this actually works.
Yeah.
There was a lot with. I don't want to give out too much of the story away, but there was a lot. There was a moment for sure when we were like, what if it was this specific point of view? And
Yeah.
And they were like, oh man, this is actually pretty cool. So then I pitched the story to Josh, who it wasn't a Power Ranger fan at the time. And then I was like, this is our idea. And he was like, this is just a good story. We should just do this. And I was like, all right. So then off to the races we were. Now my question is to you, Josh.
Yeah.
You jumped on as the director. Going into this project, what did you think was going to be the most daunting task?
The animation.
Really?
Absolutely the animation. Because the voiceover work, that's just people talking into a mic. Like, obviously...
It takes skill.
Voice acting
If you
takes
told that to
skill.
Daryl Delphin, he would... No, just kidding.
Yeah, I'm not taking anything away from people who are voice acting. Because acting is a skill, and voice acting is a skill all by itself, too. But from a technical standpoint, as long as you get people who are good at what they're doing and can do the voices and all that kind of stuff, then that part is relatively easy production-wise versus actually making an animated comic book.
Right. So what are the questions? I mean, I'm sure they want to go more into... Oh, we do have a question, actually. Curious to hear what made them decide to use Q Ranger. Great question. The honest question for that is that we had so many cast members. It was going to be the only season that we could really facilitate so many people inclusively on a show. But I will say, this is a fun story too, and this is just me telling stories now. So I like this story a lot. So JD and I would get together quite often to discuss Cosmic Protectors, and even how we landed on the name was pretty cool too, because it was just kind of like we were throwing out different names, and there was two we liked, and they were like, well, why don't we just do the other name for the super season? And we're like, all right, that works.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, and it plays into the story. But him and I would talk all the time, and I remember I would just drive around talking to him, and then we were like, well, let's figure out how to crack the seasons that Super Megaforce used, but just had names but nothing behind it.
Yeah.
And the one that we cracked, like, and we like, oh, we're onto something, was Prism.
Yeah.
When I pitched it, I was like, this is what it is. And the M, well, anyway, Prism was obviously the hardest thing to crack. So Matthew Thompson's in here as well.
Oh, great.
All right, so we also have one from our own channel, The Illuminati. How different or difficult is it to do voice directing versus in-person directing? That's a question to you, Josh.
I'm going to say that there's similar skills, but at the same time, there's different aspects to both. Because when you're directing someone in person, there's so much more that they can do because you can, like walk across a room, or there's body language, or just general things that they can do with their body or within the scene that you don't have access to when you're just using someone's voice. So they have to be able to convey all the emotion that they might be conveying with, their eyes or with the way they're holding their body, just with their voice. Like, obviously you have the animated thing in front of them, but what's different about what we're doing is since our actors are still characters on the frame, like, maybe we can move them across the frame, but there's no real animation. It's not like they're a puppet on the screen that we can move around. So it's just like that one shot of them that we're playing with. So everything is going to have to be done just through their voice. So it's just a matter of making. I think the difference is making sure that you're getting the emotional resonance out of the voice by itself versus through everything else that you're presenting on the screen.
Here's another question. So far, I think that for the first episode, there's only 4 voices left to record.
Right.
I'm not going to say who. I can say
Well,
I'm one of them.
we have 2 villains
2 villains.
and your character
Yeah, and Tracy.
and Tracy. Right.
So, Tracy Lynn Cruz. Here's the question. So far, everybody that's done the voice acting, which character are you most excited for audiences to see?
Wow. I actually got really excited for the character that we voiced this past weekend.
Okay.
Can I give the name of
Yeah.
the character? So it is Domageddon,
Yeah.
who is like the overall bad guy.
Well-
for the episode.
Yeah.
For the episode. I have a few different voice options that we went with, and I think that one's really fun. I also, Daryl obviously does this professionally.
He's great.
And he was really good, and I'm really excited to see how his voice matches up with what we have on the page.
Now, we have a question from Matthew Thompson, and I can answer this one. He says, are additional teams going to be added early on or late in the series? Glad you asked that. Funny enough, the first additional team that you'll meet is in episode 3. I don't know if they're going to have powers by episode 3, but they'll definitely have a presence throughout the whole series. And then I think one of the other teams, the way it works out, comes later on in the first 12 episodes, which is way down the road. We do have a second question. When writing for a comic versus writing for a screen, where does the difference lie? Great question.
Before you answer that, I actually want to continue on from my last one just a little bit because it kind of ties into that. This is my first time doing actual voice directing. I've directed short films. I've directed a lot of things a lot of the live shows that we do here for that hashtag show. But voice directing, this is all brand new to me, so I'm learning as we go, which kind of ties into you guys with the comic stuff because this is the first time that you have written a comic, right?
Yes, this is the first time I've written a comic. It is a lot different than writing for the screen, mainly because one thing that Ryan Parrott actually taught me when we had a podcast with Ryan Parrott, and he taught me something that I actually would never even thought of. Something as simple as the way you lay out characters, they have to speak from left to right. So if we're all in a room, like all of us are in a room right now,
Because that's how people read.
because that's how people read.
That makes sense.
So you would never have to. You'd have to figure that out, like placing the character. You have to be very precise with where you're placing the characters,
I never would have thought about that.
right? And that's something that you wouldn't think of. So, but here's the real thing, and I think this is a testament to one of the other co-writers that we're working with, Brandon Zachary, is that if you're able to essentially give a character a line and make it and change it, but it's still the same message, that's a sign of a good writer, I feel like.
Right.
If it's interchangeable with any of the characters, it shouldn't be.
So this might be a question that you might not want to answer yet, but I guess we'll find out. Since we're writing this the way that we're writing it, the dialogue, obviously, we have a lot more options with than what you do in a regular printed comic. Because on a printed comic, you have just so much space that you can fit dialogue into.
Sure.
With what we're doing, we can have multiple speech bubbles pop up. We are planning on printing this as a comic. When we print it as a comic, are you planning to go through and rewrite some of the dialogue for the printed page versus what we do in the
Look, I
animated
think
version?
that's a great question, and I think that the honest answer is that I'm going to try to do my best to fit it all on the page to make it work for the comic and for the web series and the podcast. Honestly, the podcast I think is going to be the most difficult.
The podcast is going to be a little bit harder because in the podcast, in addition to all of the regular voiceovers and the Foley work and background sound, we also need narration because since the people listening to the podcast have absolutely no idea what's happening on the page, we're going to need to describe that to them. So then that brings up another question. Who do we want to narrate that
I don't
to?
think there needs to be a narrator.
You don't think so?
No. So if you listen to
The Wolverine?
the Wolverine one, there's no narrator. It's just the way it is, and I love that kind of storytelling.
But that would require adding content, would it not?
I don't think so.
So you think we'll be able to just strip the audio from?
I mean, look. And honestly,
I mean, this is a lot of background
honestly,
stuff that I don't know that we want to get into.
That's
here,
the
but
goal. That's the
a
goal.
lot of-
I'm not sure if we can accomplish that because I think that's a very specific skill set.
Right.
And I think I think honestly, that's where it's going to be harder for you because it's going to be you honing your craft to make sure that we can translate that.
But not just me, like, because I'm doing the first one. We've got someone else coming on to do the second.
Justin,
episode,
I think, is doing the
so
second.
that we can kind of leapfrog, so that I can be working on episode 3 while episode 2 is being worked on, so that we can actually have a consistent workflow. And so that's another challenge that we're going to have, is since this is a new thing, and this is my first time doing this, it's going to be Justin's first time doing it as well. Making sure that we both carry the same tone. Obviously, the episodes can differ slightly, but like whenever you watch a TV show. You have the filler writers, the ones that'll come in, direct an episode or write an episode that has absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the season. It's just there's 22 episodes, so they need something else to stick in there. So this, though, everything is important because we've only got 12 episodes.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, we have per season. Yes.
Per season, right,
Yes.
right. But this is like when you watch something on Netflix or an Amazon Prime show.
We're condensing.
There are no filler episodes in any of those.
Yeah, and that's the hard part because JD and I designed this to be 22 episode seasons.
Yeah, something like that.
There's like 22 episode
right.
seasons.
Yeah.
So now we have to condense everything, and that's something we're still getting used to. I'm gonna guide this question to you, and I'm sure you should know the answer. Is will there be an overall big bad through the series?
Yes.
Yes. Matthew Thompson. He says, voice directing is odd. I've done some ADR directing before, and it is an odd animal, which you're beginning to find out.
Yeah, for me, it's interesting because there's so many. You want to use so many takes to make sure that you get the voice that you want to get. But then at the same time, you also have to keep in your mind everything that you've recorded previously to make sure that the voice that they're doing is matching the voice that they had before. With all of the Rangers, that doesn't really matter because it's all your natural voices. But with some of the villains and the other side characters, would that actually have different voices than the people, it's hard to keep track of what's what.
Common Rider Blue01 says, will the motion comic use scenes, if able, from the Sentai series? Likely not. We're not.
Yeah,
we probably
no.
wouldn't do that.
So we have an artist that's on board who is
Daniel Kirshner.
Daniel Kirshner. I know him from when I went to UCF in Florida. He is doing all the artwork for the comic, and it's all based off of what's going on with the script. There's probably not going to be any additional footage that we bring in from elsewhere.
Now, one thing I do want to get into that Daniel's using our Illuminati account, so he's asking questions to kind of help you guys out. Here's a great question. And because I want to dive into the story, because at the end of the day, you guys are mostly going to stick around for the story, I believe. The Illuminati asks, can you give us one of the plot lines like an elevator pitch? Elevator pitch is like a one sentence pitch, right?
So there's a couple of different kinds of pitches. There's the log line, which is usually a 2-sentence description of what the series. An elevator pitch is a pitch that you would be able to give to someone on an elevator.
Okay, I got it.
It would be enough to go up maybe like 3 floors. So 30 seconds worth of speaking.
See, the thing is with the pitch, though, if I give the elevator pitch, it gives a big chunk of like what's going on.
Right. So how about this? If you were pitching this to someone at a network and you were just giving them the overall broad concept, what would you tell them the story is about?
This takes place in the Power Rangers world, obviously, during the era of Soul of the Dragon, which you guys know from Boom Studios. You're going to find out where past Rangers have been, but this really focuses on a new team that, you know what the elevator pitch is? Think of this team as the Power Ranger version of the Green Lantern Corps. They are out there not policing, but yeah, we're kind of policing the galaxy, and there's been this council of different planets that have united that right now they've had no trouble. Like they've almost eradicated all the villains, almost, but there's certain hostile planets. But right now they live in this tranquility of a peaceful era in the galaxy. So this council's kind of together, and they're just making sure that that everything stays cool on these planets that have the SPD and council presence. And the planets that don't, obviously, those are hostile planets that the Rangers have to go in and do business. So essentially, that's what it is. Yes. How much more did you learn? Oh, here we go. We'll skip the question here. Oh, would there be potential inter-ranger relationships? Like what kind of? I'm guessing we're talking like hookups and stuff.
Between rangers, I guess.
Yeah, there are actually. I can tell you one of them.
You don't want to leave that for the fan fiction?
Well, so here's a
fan fiction on our fan fiction.
So you know how we came up with how I don't know if I told you this even, how I came up with one of the relationships on the show is because, do you remember there was one After Dark we did, and it was kind of like we want the fans to ship, or maybe it was a Power Ranger show we did, but we wanted the fans to ship two of the
hashtag people.
Two of the hashtag people.
Yeah.
So there were two popular answers. One of those relationships is going to be a relationship in the show.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you can guess which one, but there are two like popular answers.
I mean, really, there's only two that I can really remember from what those were.
We'll say them.
You and Maverick.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And Daniel and Sarah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess there were three then. So, but one of the ones you named is one of them.
Okay.
So there you go. Is Captain Mitchell going to play a part? Yes, I could tell you this right now. Will Captain Mitchell play a part since it's like a Green Lantern Corps? Yes, absolutely. Captain Mitchell is actually a huge part of one of the storylines. Captain Mitchell from Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. Ron Roget. Josh, question to you. How much more did you learn about Ranger Universe or Sentai-based material?
For this specifically, not a lot. Just because I'm in a constant state of learning about the Power Ranger community and Power Ranger stuff just from doing this. I don't know if we've talked about this before on air or on any of the podcasts, but I stopped watching Power Rangers after, I want to say Turbo. Like, I think I skipped Zeo, and then after the Power Rangers Turbo movie, I started watching it again.
You missed the good season to go to the shitty season.
But just because it was a movie. So I was like, oh, well, this is a thing that's tying into the series now, so I'll start watching it again. After a few episodes of Turbo, I kind of tuned out again because, I was a little bit older then, and I had other things going on, and it just
Also
kind of
makes
fell
sense.
off.
Turbo wasn't very strong.
So now doing the hashtag stuff over the past 5 years, it's weird to me though too because I know more of the Ranger characters as the actors that play them than as their characters on the show. But I'm constantly through doing these things with you guys and doing PMC and going to all the Ranger events and just listening to you guys talk about the shows in general, the Retro Ranger wrap up. I'm learning more about it all the time. But this is something because of what we're doing. I am trying to learn more about the Sentai stuff.
Well, you do join the retro wrap up during space, which is going to be great for this.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited about it.
Let's see. What other nerd sources did you pull from besides Power Rangers, like Star Wars, Star Trek, anything else?
Galaxy Quest.
We definitely pulled from. Your mic's not off, so they can hear you pretty clearly. That's one of the things in here too. Moron. One of the things Star Wars is definitely a huge influence. I would also say Star Trek. I would say anything. I would almost say X-Men is a huge influence also.
Yeah. Obviously Green Lantern. Like
Green Lanterns, yeah. I think that it's crazy the way that this was all designed. Because if you kind of like throw this all together, this is what you get out of it.
I kind of want like a Mad Max episode.
Well, so I can say this too. I can tell you that because we've already started planning for this. When we get to the episode in October, we're making that one a straight up horror episode, like straight up. So
we've talked about that before.
Yeah, so we're gonna do like a lot of different things, like just off the wall that I think people are gonna like. Now, Matthew Thompson, was that Jezzer whispering in the background? Yes, it was.
Did it sound like Goldar? Is that how you knew?
Yeah, do your Goldar.
Yes, Matthew Thompson, that was me.
That sounds more like Randy Savage.
Kamen Rider Blue01 says for this comic, will there be usage of Kamen Riders or Metal Heroes as aspects or ideas for the upcoming episodes? Absolutely. One thing that we wanted to include was expanding the world. We're going to use Metal Heroes. We're going to use Kamen Riders. We're using it all. I'm actually even taking right now.
So I'm going to ask you something else tying into this about something that you recently may have talked to someone about. Bioman.
Yep. Who was I talking to about this?
Me?
No.
Oh, it was you,
No,
but
no.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
just someone
like
else.
who you?
Yeah.
Is that
actual
actually
celebrity?
No. I was talking to, well, yes, we are doing Bioman. Look, we are at, that was, why?
Seriously.
We're doing Bioman. We have a great plan for it.
Yes.
I
We have
wonder. I wonder if we could get that guy.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna definitely try to get Mark Dukakis back for this. But we are 100% doing Bioman.
Who's Mark Dukakis?
The Iron Chef guy.
Mark Dukakis?
Whatever. Duskas. Whatever. We're getting him back for this. That's my goal. But yes, we are absolutely. The way we have Bioman kind of weaved into this I think is really smart. It was your idea.
Yeah.
I
I think it'll be fun.
That'll be a lot of fun. Wait, what was the question though? Nerd sources. Where did we pull from? Everything, pretty much.
Yeah.
You're just saying.
I'm on another question.
Yeah.
So yes, we're gonna Common Rider. Oh, I wanted to talk about Common Rider for a second. So one thing that we're actually absolutely gonna do for Common Rider is Dragon Knight. I'm gonna make that canon in this. I'm gonna try to get a lot of those actors back. I've done a lot of research about Dragon Knight as of late, and I'm gonna try to weave their world into this one, into Power Rangers, mixing it all together. Another one is Masked Rider. That will be another character in this. As a matter of fact, he'll be in the second episode, I think. So we're gonna do our best to implement as many different Metal Heroes and Tokusatsu things we absolutely can, because we legitimately want to build this world. Every planet I want to feel unique. Every story I want to feel unique. What's our next question? We got another one from the Illuminati. This is for Jan David, JD. Are you looking to change the outcome of some Ranger universe canon within your story, or even add to what already exists?
Obviously, we're adding to what already exists. We're not looking to change canon, though. We're trying to keep the story within the Power Ranger universe canon as it is now.
So, something that could exist or could not exist depending on what they were looking at.
Yeah.
So something that could fit in, where it could be like, okay, this doesn't need to be part of anything else, but it works as canon, whereas it's not breaking anything.
Yeah, definitely doing that and just building the world, but want to keep it within those constraints.
We have another question from Mr. Larry Newbill. He says, is there any specific home planet or home base for the Cosmic Protectors? Yes. And I can actually tell this part of the story right away, is that Earth will be the home base for the Power Rangers. That's going to be their home planet. And the reason why, and this is another departure from Q Ranger that we're going to be doing for Cosmic Protectors, is that in Q Ranger, different aliens are also Rangers. You have the Blue Ranger, who's like a dog/wolf.
Yeah.
You have a giant bull guy, who's the Black Ranger. The Purple Rangers, this dragon. They have different not monsters, but different tokusatsus to portray those. All of our Rangers, at least from the beginning, will be from Earth. And the reason why they're from Earth is going to be because Earth has been the most successful planet at defeating evil and making Rangers. And that's the reason why it's going to be guided for all these Earthlings at first. That's as much as I can say about that side of it. But just because they all start from Earth doesn't mean they're all going to end that way. Mm-hmm. So everything's going to take a lot of twists and turns, and you'll get to see what that means as well. Matthew Thompson says, by the way, he's going to Ranger Stop in Orlando. I'll record some panels if you'd like. I'd love to. Actually might have a special mission for you.
Wait. Is this where I can announce our GoFundMe to send us to Ranger Stop?
Well, we might be going to Ranger Stop anyway.
We're just going to go to have fun. We're not actually going to be giving you guys anything in return.
Yeah, I think we are definitely going to have. We're going to have that back. We're going to have. I might have a special mission for you, so that might be happening. We have Common Rider Blue Zero says Common Rider ZO perhaps.
No.
GO. Jezzer's really adamant that it won't happen.
Wait. I thought that was Jezzer's favorite show.
But here's the deal. I have a feeling I like challenges, and I feel like we can make that work and make it good. Like, I think that we could probably make it better than what some of the audience perception is.
Yeah. Bar's pretty low from what I'm hearing.
Bar's pretty low, so I think that we have a good chance of making it better. The whole purpose of why we did this, though, was at the time Saban had Ninja Steel come out, and a lot of fans weren't happy about it. And I felt that we should, as fans, shouldn't be treated with such kid gloves. And I felt like maybe it's time to step up the game with storytelling of Power Rangers. And the reason why we wanted to do it the way we wanted to do it is because we looked at it as a challenge. And for us, it was like, put your money where your mouth is. Mm-hmm. So now we had this elaborate plan in which we're going to implement now. We're not going to be taking away, and funny enough, actually, one of the things I was thinking about including as well was some other, like a crossover with other people's fanfics. Because I know Chris Katata just recently had this one that he was trying to do like a while back. And I was like, well, maybe I can implement his world into this world and cross them together. And same thing with, what's the one with the musical notes?
Jumanji?
Yeah. I was thinking maybe we can cross over with them too. Who knows? Maybe.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got another comment from Larry Newbill. He says Bioman and Dynaman. Bioman, yes, 100%. Dynaman actually is you're gonna meet our Dynaman team, Power Rangers Battalion.
Yeah.
You won't meet them in the costume, but you'll get a taste for that story very early on. So Power Rangers Battalion is going to be one of the first grouping of teams you'll see right away. I think this is from Common Rider Blue 01. He says, I think it'd be fun if possible to get Brad Hawkins, Ryan Steele involved, if able, of course. I'd love to. Brad Hawkins, we also want him for Trey of Triforia.
Oh yeah.
So that could be a lot of fun to play with. I also do want to use the VR Troopers, 100%. I want
That'd
to
be interesting.
figure out a way to use the VR Troopers. I actually think it can work. Now that I'm like playing with this idea in my head, I have a way to do it. I'll pitch it to you off air.
All right.
The Illuminati, what is the process you guys follow when breaking a story? I think for the most part, we had a groundwork of JD and I created the groundwork of what we were doing. And then kind of what we did is we took every Ranger and talked about where their goal is and tried to break the characters, not necessarily the story. We tried to figure out what each character was doing and why they were there on this quest together.
Yeah.
And then once we figured that out, and I'll be honest with you, the hardest one to figure out was our Green Ranger.
Yeah.
Even now, still the hardest one to figure out is our Green Ranger.
I've been throwing out ideas, like different ideas.
Well,
all the
I
time.
think I have one now, but that was for sure the hardest.
Yeah.
That was the hardest. But everything else was fairly easy. Some of the characters almost wrote themselves. Like I felt like once you get to certain characters, I would say like Daniel's character almost writes itself.
Daryl's.
Also. I think honestly, Daryl has one of the best story arcs, the way it kind of works out. Jessica's as well. Like that's another character that I'm really excited for people to see. Let's see. Kamen Rider Blue 01. Well, will we be learning and going more into worlds introduced on Power Rangers such as Triforia and Aquitar?
That's the
Absolutely.
Alien Ranger planet, right?
Aquitar, yes. Matter of fact, we'll be on Aquitar fairly early on in the series, actually, and Triforia will be represented. Every Power Ranger planet you've been introduced to, whether it's in the comics or the show, is where the Contactors will travel there at some point. I promise you that, and that's what I'm excited for.
Maybe not everyone, but
Like
most
every
of them.
single one of them, I promise.
There's a lot of planets.
We're gonna get to all of them. One of the ones that I'm most excited because there's a huge scene that we have that takes place on a planet called Onyx.
Yeah.
Huge scene we have for that, and I'm so excited for that reveal because another one of the characters, and honestly, the Orange Ranger has one of the better stories too in our. All of them have really good stories,
Yeah.
but I can tell certain. I think the fans are going to attach to certain Rangers more so than others. I think.
No.
I
When we
think
get to Dagobah.
Dagobah, the Dagobah system. That's a real thing in Power Rangers. You
Is
know
it
that?
really?
Yeah, it is.
Do Muppets live on the planet?
Yep. Let's see. Matthew Thompson, come on. We all know Jezer loves Geo, whatever it's called. Illuminati, we know you have passed Rangers either reprising roles or doing new roles. Will you have passed writers, producers, or contributors too? Absolutely. 100%. I can't announce one of the big writers coming on for this that's going to write a whole story arc for us, but I think you guys...
People are gonna be excited.
I
About
think you
that.
guys are
It'll
gonna
be
freaking
big.
like. It's gonna be huge. That one's legit. Yeah, and you know what? Josh and I are good buddies with Adi Shankar.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we should give him a call.
So Adi Shankar. We actually should give him a call for this. I think that we could do a lot with him, and I think that he might even contribute to a story himself.
Yeah, I'm sure he would.
Maybe the horror episode.
Oh, that would be great having him do
That'd
that.
be insane.
That could be. We're getting some crazy noise with this working out here today.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like people are trying to break through from the roof.
Right? Larry Newbill, Matthew, Jez gonna calf kick you. You know he didn't like Zeo. Larry says probably be able to see Billy on Aquitar also. Yeah, maybe. Look, a lot of these also depend on whether or not we can actually get the actors back.
So that's something I was going to ask you. If you wanted to use a character and we couldn't get the original actor that played the character, would you want to get someone else to do the voice, or would you just not use that character?
It would really depend on how important they are to the story. So for Tracy's character, Ashley, Counselor Hammond in our story, She's extremely important.
Right.
So we knew that that has to happen. With other characters, I'll be honest with you, there's not necessarily a dire need for them, but I guarantee, well, I promise you we're bringing a lot back because we have a lot of people already interested in. I actually think you're going to see some characters act together in the same scenes that you would never have imagined doing scenes together.
So can we, for one of the episodes, try and get one of the comedy sidekick teams back together?
Like Bulk and Skull?
Not necessarily them, but
Yeah.
like those kind of people.
Yeah, I mean, look, one thing that we're doing later on today is trying to figure out where, I mean, we should almost record that as one of the podcasts, is trying to figure out where we feel a lot of these people are.
Yeah.
Because our story takes place in the year 2030. Power Rangers SPD was 2025. Right, we're going to be somewhere in the era of like, of Soul the Dragon, which puts Tommy in his like late
60s?
40s, early 50s.
Yeah.
So somewhere around there. And I did the math actually to figure out how old he would have been. But we are definitely going to go down that route and figure out where every single one of these characters are. And I mean Rangers that spend, I'm talking Solar Rangers. I'm talking, who else? I'm like everybody. From MMPR, everybody that you met in the Boom Studios comics, we're gonna figure out where we think they would be in 2030. And luckily with Power Rangers, as you guys already know, they already have different dimensions. So I mean, we're gonna do our best to keep it in the canon. But if canon doesn't dictate with what we're doing, we say we're a different dimension. It's really up to that. I can't wait for everyone to see what we did with Tokuger. I think that one's going to be so cool. Let's see. Oh, all right. Will Cosmic Protectors also be using events from Boom Studios such as Shattered Grid and Necessary Evil? Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
1,000%. That's going to be canon to our story. SPD, the team that they left us with in SPD, is going to be the current Power Ranger team from that SPD era. So that's going to be Bridge. It's going to be Lena. It's going to be JJ. It's going to be Sydney, and it's going to be Z. And along with the
Sky.
Deca Rangers, it's going to be
Sky.
Sky. And we'll have a few other Rangers in there as well.
Yeah.
Like maybe Omega.
Can you bring me the blue bag that's over there?
The Omega Ranger, and maybe a few others. Let's see. Matthew Thompson, this is for Josh. What equipment and or software are you using to record with?
So the equipment that we're using is it's a lot of the same equipment that we've used for the shows in the past. We're using a Zoom H6 to record to actually record the audio, and then that's being brought into Adobe Audition and Adobe Premiere to actually do the layouts and designs, and then all the animation is going to be happening in After Effects. To actually record, that's why I asked Toku to bring this over. Got my bag of stuff here.
It's like Mary Poppins.
Yeah, pretty much. You can actually see a better picture of this up on the Patreon page. It's the Sterling ST151 condenser microphone. I talked with a guy at Guitar Center for like an hour and a half about different condenser mics for something that we could get within our price range that we were looking to spend, and something that did good quality, and that was the one that he suggested. I wish we could use something like Pro Tools to do the recording directly to the computer, but right now, because of the actual audio interface, we don't have one that interfaces like a digital audio workstation with Pro Tools, so that is not something that we can do yet. But hopefully, as this progresses and we get more patrons, we'll be able to afford to buy better gear that does do those things.
I love this next question because this is really, I mean, it really shows that. I just think it's a great question. Common Rider Blur 01 says, "How many drafts of scripts do you go through for finding the episode?" Honestly, how many? 2. We cracked
But
the.
there were 3 technically, right?
No, I think there were 2.
So I want to say there was one that we had early last year. Then there was a second one that we did for the table read.
The one that was early last year was the same one.
Oh, okay.
We did so we did that. We literally cracked it pretty quickly. And actually, so that's a great story too, Josh. We did that first table read, and I think that there was a sense of like, I think we got the tone of it. We got the tone.
Yeah.
Because I will say this honestly.
The tone kind of changed during the table read though too.
It did. So you weren't at the table read that we did
Not
more
the last
recently.
one, no.
So the table read that we did, it's interesting because we go through it, and it's usually me, Josh, Daniel, Johnny, L. I think it's Tatiana, Justin,
Shay was there.
Shay. We'll all go through, assign roles, and then read it out. And then the first draft, what we'll do is we'll figure out what works, what doesn't work, what needs to change. Then I'll come back with the revised second draft, and then we'll read that one through. And once that one works, it's kind of like, all right, we got it. We only had to do two table reads for the first episode.
Yeah.
And this is what I think. I think, and you know this, is that the first episode feels very much like a Power Ranger, like straight up Power Ranger episode. It is very Power Ranger, like Power Rangers.
Yeah.
And I think once you start diving, because me personally, because right now we just finished the second draft on the second episode, and you guys haven't seen it yet, but I do have the first draft. I want to show you how different they are, because the second draft, it just flows so good.
And this one, Brandon
Zachary
punched it up, right?
Punched it up. The characters are so good. I can't wait for you guys to read it, because as soon as I read his notes, I was like, oh yeah, like this is the way.
Yeah.
It needs to be going.
Speaking about the table read, though, that is something that we recorded. We have video of the whole thing, and that will be going up on Patreon to our Silver Ranger tier, I believe.
Yeah, it might be even lower, actually.
I'm not sure right off the top of my head. I'll have to double check. But that after the first episode comes out, we will be putting the table read up, because we don't want to put it up before that, because you'll spoil the episode for yourself.
Question to you, JD. Oh, here's another question for you guys. Common Writer Blue01 says, will Cosmic Protectors do any rewrites or redos of events of Power Rangers, such as the power transfer or the legendary battle?
No.
I think you answered this earlier, that you don't want to rewrite anything or change canon that's already existing, right?
Legendary battle we might go back to expand on.
Yeah, expand, but that's not changing.
No, I honestly...
that's kind of like Doctor Who, though, too, with like the Time War. Like, nothing that they did with the Time War in the new 2005 and beyond Doctor Who really changed anything from the past. It just expanded and added to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's ideas and themes for seasons that were never used that we might be using for ours.
Yeah.
But we're not going to rewrite anything. The power transfer is going to be what it was. It's going to happen. Everybody's going to have their own kind of... their legacy carved out in this world of Power Rangers that's ever been a Ranger before. One of the cooler aspects that I think that we have going for us is that you'll get to see different Rangers that have never really been explored, but we also get to have fans be Rangers, which I think is kind of cool too.
Yeah.
Because that'll help us kind of like create new characters. I don't know. Let me ask you a question, Josh. You have the first.
Yeah.
You read the first
Yeah.
episode. Do you? Out of the first episode, who's your favorite character? I let's say it on three. I have a feeling that I can guess your favorite character.
I mean, I kind of have two. And it's mostly because of the voices.
I know who they are.
Who do you think they are?
Slugshoe and Domageddon.
Yep.
I knew it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can tell people who did the voice for those, right?
Yeah.
We've got that up. So Shay's doing the voice of Slugshoe, and Jody, who I don't know. Jody Bennett, who was with us. Well, I mean, he's still with us. He writes on the website every once in a while, and he was the lead on the Krypton after show that we did last year. And he is voicing Domageddon. He gave me 3 completely different voice options for Domageddon. And I like all of them, so it's going to be really hard deciding which one to go with.
You know the story, JD. Which character are you most excited for people to be introduced to? Oh no, I should say which Ranger are you most excited for people to be introduced to?
Ranger. I think the Gold Ranger and Silver Ranger. Like
Interesting.
that storyline, I think is a fun one.
Wait till you read the second episode.
So we've got
Did that
time for like
change?
maybe
No,
one
no.
or two more questions before we got to wrap up here.
Okay, we got another question from Common Rider Blue.
yeah.
He says, what was the pitch like to former Rangers, bringing them back to reprise or even voice new characters? It's pretty easy, actually. I think we kind of tell them what the idea is. And the funny thing is, I think it's funny at least, when people come in and record their lines, they don't know what they're reacting to or what they're
Yeah.
saying. It's like they're just recording their lines, which I mean, that's what animation does now.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're reading the script, so they know what, like, who they're reacting to.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, you're reading it back to them?
Depending on who it is, we've had a couple of people record off-site, so I'm not sure. Like Jessica and Kelly both.
I thought you just give them their lines and they
separately.
just read them.
No. I showed them the script, so that way they know what. Because if they don't know what line they're reacting to, they're not necessarily going to know how to inflect those lines.
Yeah.
But they don't necessarily know what's happening on the pages in between all of that stuff.
Yeah, so the pitch is pretty easy to get, especially to get Tracy back is pretty easy because I kind of told her where I thought her character was and where I wanted to go with it. And she was like, I love this idea because there's a big twist and turn for her character. And I think that, and it ties back into Power Rangers in Space, which I can't wait for a team up for the Space Rangers and the Cosmic Protectors because it's only natural. But I am really excited for that. And I think that was an easy one, too. Christopher Kamen Lee was an easy.
Oh, yeah.
So
All you did was say, hey, Chris, do you want to...
you want to go out for a drink? Yeah. Jacqueline coming back for a villain, I think is going to be a lot. Now I want to write a villain specifically for her because I think she's so much fun doing this. Who else? We have a lot of
Well, I think the pitch for this is pretty easy because since it's voiceover. I mean, 90% or more of the actors that I've met that have done Power Rangers are actually fans of the show now. Like they really enjoy doing Power Rangers and they enjoy having it be a part of their life. There are obviously a few that don't necessarily feel the same way, but for the ones that do, this is the thing where they don't. I mean, obviously there's work involved, but it's not like they have to get to the suit and then they have to go out to set all day. They spend an hour and a half recording a couple of lines and then they're done. So this is a really easy project for them to get into.
I agree. So, wow, questions are coming in. I like it now. When in the Ranger universe does this timeline take place? 2030, right? If you read Soul the Dragon, you're right in that era. You'll know exactly what we're going for. That's going to be the theme, the tone. And the different planets you get to explore, like, are going to be pretty cool. And they're all distinctively different. Like, in the third episode, we land on the planet Dinah, which is a kind of like a Easter egg to Dynaman. And that planet, I think, is pretty cool because at the time it was kind of like the stuff that I was vibing with. That's why we created that team.
Yeah.
Let's see. Kamen Rider Blur01 says, what can we expect to learn with the Cosmic Protector podcast? Well, two different things. So there's going to be like the audio drama, which is going to be the same show that you guys are going to get. There's also going to be like a podcast that we're going to do, which is almost like a brainstorming meeting.
Those will be a little bit less frequent because they don't need to happen as often.
Right.
But yeah, it'll be like a glimpse into the writer's room.
Yeah. That and you'll be able to learn what's informing some of our decisions, where we like the one that I was telling, we have to figure out where all the characters are.
Yeah.
Because that's going to help with who we're going to bring in and stuff like that. Matthew Thompson says, even if it's just a throwaway line, I really want to confirm that Decker is actually Cole.
I think that'd be really hard with the timeline that they've developed in the show for what Decker's character is and who Cole is.
Yeah.
So I don't think it works.
You don't think it works?
No.
Interesting. I don't think it works either. We could figure something out, though. Be an
Yeah.
alternate version of... I mean, there's different
Yeah.
ways to do this.
Sure.
See, that was a little glimpse of what
Yeah.
discussion we would have on a podcast.
A flash sideways.
Right. Larry Nubel says, do you guys think you were able to get Ted Jan Roberts, who played Dex from Max Rider, to make a cameo? Yeah, I mean, we could try. I mean, I definitely want a Mask Rider cameo in there. I would love to really build this world. So yeah, 100% Mask Rider. Mask Rider's a part of this. Kamen Rider Blur01 says, whose design
Whose character design is going to be next?
on Patreon? Jessica. She'll be next. I can guarantee you that. She's being worked on right now as we speak.
Those designs look great.
So
Yeah.
we'll have that. That'll be the September reward.
Well, we usually do like a few characters a month.
Yeah. But we've been giving the full color art as the
Right.
previous
So
show.
Jessica-
this month we'll definitely have Jessica.
Yep.
And maybe
And
couple of
Tracy.
others. And Tracy. Oh yeah, and Tracy.
And then and hopefully Daryl is the one after that. So I know that we'll probably have those three for the month of September, and hopefully 4, but we'll definitely have those 3. I can't wait for everyone to see Slug Shoe though. Like, I think that character's
yeah,
so cool.
I'm really excited to see what he's.
I think that's
he's
probably the
officially
greatest
going to
thing.
look at, too.
My greatest like add on to this was the name of Slug Shoe.
Slush was
Yeah,
great.
I heard that name somewhere else recently too.
Oh really?
Yeah. Like someone in some show or something that I was reading had called someone Slug Shoe.
Really?
I don't know what. I'm gonna have to look that up.
I think you're
now, 'cause
thinking
don't
of what they
remember
call
it was.
Daniel Clown Shoe.
Well, there was that, but there was also a Slug
in the
Shoe
day.
somewhere.
Well, I think that's about. Yeah, I think that's about it. That should wrap us up. We got a couple more. If able, what would happen if the super mega tier and the benefit, like what you would get out of it, the super mega tier, what would they get out of it, Josh?
Sorry, what was that question again?
If somebody got the super mega tier, what would they get out of it?
The highest tier, if I remember correctly without looking at it, that is having you as a fan or written into an episode.
But coming out here,
Well, we're not flying them out here though.
Yeah.
You would have to make your way out to LA. You get to come out here. You get to hang out with us. You get to sit in on a brainstorming session, and you as yourself would be written into one of the episodes, and you would get to voice that character.
correct. Another great question. Any well-known actors not already related to Power Rangers that you would like to have on the show? Absolutely. I can already tell you right now that I can tell you this right now. There's going to be some WWE wrestlers and people in WWE that are going to be coming on and voicing characters. And I'm trying to get some video. We have some video game people coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Some pretty big video game names in there.
Yeah, there's a few people that we're not going to be able to tell you who they are directly, but you should hopefully recognize their voices.
Right. So we're gonna have a few of them in there, and maybe people we'll be able to get some pretty cool talent on this project. So good. Look at that. Common Writer Blur Zero says, "I shall start saving up." He's gonna start saving up for that super mega
great.
tier. Yeah. So we got some pretty cool names that are gonna be announced
I
very
don't know.
shortly.
Slug Shoe isn't coming up in any kind of Google search. So if you guys are able to find Slug Shoe somewhere that's not this, I would be really interested to know because I
Ooh.
have no idea where I heard
That's
it.
a great question too. I like these questions now. Who do you think that you know can actually make Kelly and Daniel's character jackets designed to life? The Kelly jacket design,
It looks really dope.
I mean,
Here-
Kelly might actually be able to make that.
make her jacket. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But here's the thing. So the one thing I wanted to do, that's a great question. This leads into this. One thing I wanted to do with the jackets specifically, because Q Ranger, if you watch Q Ranger, they all have their jackets.
Right,
And they're
right.
all pretty much the same, with the exception of the color
Yeah.
palette. What I wanted to do is individualize each jacket to make sure that you know what that character is like. So that's why Kelly, and if anybody that knows Kelly in real life, like those little punk spikes,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
Kelly. She
yeah.
would wear that.
Yeah.
So everybody is going to have their jacket kind of individualized towards them. So think of it as kind of like, I don't know if anybody is going to remember this, but do you guys remember when right before they made X-Men Blue and Gold, they all had the matching uniforms?
Yeah.
Like the blue and yellow uniforms?
blue, yellow, yeah.
So everybody kind of stylized theirs differently. Like Gambit still had his trench coat on. So like that was kind of like the theme I want to do. Look at those jackets as like their uniforms, but I want them to be very individualized with each Ranger. Common Writer Blur01. This was a great video. It made me excited for this. Will there be a TeePublic Cause Protector shirt soon? Yes. Yes. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. You guys want to close out with anything?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Make sure to share the Patreon out with your friends. Let them know what's going on if this is something that they're interested in, or would be the type of thing that they'd be interested in. Make sure to let them know. This video will be going up on the new Illuminati YouTube channel at some point in the next few days.
So
if you guys
subscribe
wanna come
to
back-
it.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe to it. We'll post that link around so you guys can find it.
Matter of fact, this is where all your Patreon stuff is going to be.
Yeah.
Here on this page.
All the Patreon stuff will be on the Illuminati YouTube channel. We just made it, so that's why this one is in a weird state of flux right now. But you'll be able to find everything here on the Patreon page.
That means early Morphin Mondays.
Yep.
When you guys are Patreon
and
subscribers.
a lot of the things that we're going to be doing will be available no matter what tier you're in. So you'll find it all here, and then it'll link elsewhere.
Yep.
Just thanks and keep supporting us and let everybody know about Cosmic Protectors.
Yeah, we're excited to bring it to you guys. Once we finalize and solidify this with our staff, we'll be able to tell you guys right around the time to expect it. but I can tell you this from preliminary talks. You can expect a first trailer come around Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be, but then soon after that, you won't have to wait very long for the first episode, and then every month, hopefully every month,
Right.
you'll be getting a new episode. And the more we get on Patreon, the faster and the easier those episodes get to come out.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. Is that we'll be making this regardless, for as long as we can, regardless of whether we have patrons or not. But the more patrons we get means the more that we can do, the faster we can make these happen, and the more often they will come out.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to stress, and I can't stress this enough, is we're not asking for your money, we're asking for your support. There's a big difference there. I know that a lot of you guys have been turned off by different kind of like Power Ranger Kickstarters or GoFundMes, whatever they may be, crowdsourced Power Ranger projects, whether they got made or not. One thing that's going to happen is this is going to be made whether or not we have patrons or not. We're going to do this because we love doing this, but it makes it a lot easier and we can get it done a lot faster with your support. So we're not asking for your money. We're just asking, hey, come check it out. If you like it and you want to be a part of it, great. If you're not willing to make that commitment, we're okay with that too. But you do get a credit in every episode if you do, or if you are a patron.
As long as you're at a minimum in the $1 tier, you'll have a credit and a thank you. We'll also, once the website for Cosmic Protectors goes live, we'll have a list of everyone that's contributed up there. And then just again, the more you contribute, the more you're going to get out of it.
Yeah, and again, we're going to be fully. I mean, a lot of questions we got about Kamen Rider, Metal Heroes, and other Ranger seasons. Guess what? We don't have a lot of people to base those on. So that's another reason why you guys should join up for those higher tiers, is because you guys can be Rangers yourself. And then I think there's even a tier where you can come in and voice yourself.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
So you guys,
And as PMC gets closer, there's going to be some fun stuff for that too.
Yes, can't wait to announce that. But guys, thank you so much. You guys are amazing, and we plan on doing this again next month. We got to hit the same goal.
Yep.
We'll do it next month.
So this
Maybe
will be,
with voice actors next time.
Yeah. So our next goal, I will update it shortly after this ends, will be $200. So as soon as we hit that next $100 on Patreon, we will do another AMA.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Daniel, what's the Illuminati line? You can come in. All right. Throw it up.